Great milestone, great day.
A major reversal from the CDC. What you need to know as vaccinated people across the country can now ditch the mask. And the longest legislative session in Idaho history, it's over. But is it really over? Why a House recess may signal an even longer session over federal COVID funds. And going green. We return to Mountain Home High School to see the overwhelming community response to an agriculture program.
You're watching CBS 2 News.
We begin tonight with a body recovered from a canal in Chubbuck, Idaho. Chubbuck PD says the body of an adult female was found earlier today in a canal in the area of Hill Line Road and New Day Parkway. Authorities say the case is under investigation and an autopsy is scheduled for next week with the Ada County Coroner's Office.
As long as the guidelines are enforced, we will also enforce the guidelines. When the guidelines change, we will follow that also.
If you're 2 weeks beyond your second COVID shot, the city of Boise is no longer requiring masks to be worn in outdoor or indoor public spaces. And earlier this week, the CDC announced that you can stop wearing masks again in most indoor and outdoor spaces if you're vaccinated. But what does that mean for Idahoans? And can business owners still enforce mask mandates? CBS 2's Trevor Fay has a look at what retailers and customers can expect.
Pop's Popcorn is a staple of the Treasure Valley. It's been here on Chinden Boulevard for more than 30 years, and just recently came under the ownership of Sandy Norrie and her husband. With the latest mask guidelines from the CDC, they're looking forward to bringing back a big part of their operation.
To be able to allow the customers come in and we can go back to sampling popcorn. We have all of these varieties, and when people come in, I like to give them samples and so they can try and taste, and there's no mask in the way.
And they're not the only ones celebrating the news. Staff at New York Ritchie's over on Glenwood Street believes this latest change will be good for business. All they ask is that those who are sick or unvaccinated continue to be cautious.
Can't tell them not to wear a mask or to wear a mask. It's personal choice, but we fully recommend when you come in, dine in, or making it to go, keep a mask on.
I hear that it's also doing good work for your guys' clients too, like some of the folks have been welcoming it back.
Yeah, exactly. Our popcorn was in a lot of restaurants and bars and banks, and today actually was our first customer. Big O Tires called us, and they have popcorn back in their shops again.
That kind of return business will be essential for these small shops, and as we head further into the summer, staff expects sales to continue picking up.
A lot of people have taken up the vaccine and they feel a bit more confident going out, So a lot of people are coming in to more dining now.
And perhaps best of all, the future is looking bright for these mom and pop shops that have held on through the turbulent pandemic months.
We have big plans for Pop's Popcorn. We want to do another location down in Nampa and get our popcorn out to more stores and, just keep growing and growing and growing.
Other businesses can expect more information from Central District Health as well as the city as news of new mask guidelines continue to circulate. Now, city facilities will not immediately change, but the city will be keeping an eye on the COVID situation, and they say it will change its health orders as needed. And following the news from the CDC, Central District Health lifted the public health advisory for Ada, Boise, Elmore, and Valley counties. Now, the move comes just 2 days after Idaho moved to stage 4 of its reopening plan. Residents in those counties are encouraged to follow safety protocols when it comes to coronavirus, and if you're not vaccinated, to keep your mask on. Well, a new CDC analysis confirms what we've been told all along about the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, that they're powerfully effective against COVID-19. A newly released study of 1,800 healthcare workers, it's confirmed that Pfizer and Moderna's vaccines are 94% effective against symptomatic illness. The study proves further evidence that vaccines are working in the real world outside of controlled clinical trials. The same study found a single dose was 82% effective against illness, slightly better than findings in clinical trials.
All right, clouds have stuck around throughout much of the evening. We're expecting things to be pretty quiet overnight, though. A few lingering mountain showers, mainly along the Idaho-Nevada border. Otherwise, partly cloudy for a lot of the Treasure Valley. We should dip down to about 53 tonight. Expecting fairly average temperatures. These are a little bit above normal. Temperatures in the 50s. We've had more of a southwest flow still in place. Again, a large trough impacting much of the western portion of the U.S. This is what we call a closed low. It's essentially cut itself off from the main flow of the jet stream, at least, and high pressure is trying to work its way back in as this storm system moves out. But we're still seeing some moisture come up from the south from this storm system. And so we've had, some gusty winds and a few spotty showers, mainly south of Boise. We're expecting things to be pretty quiet for Sunday. In fact, tomorrow morning, as mentioned, about mid to low 50s for a lot of the valley. This is about 3:50 in the morning, heading into the late morning, early afternoon. We're expecting lots of sunshine to take over. Model's still putting a little bit of moisture for folks in the south central mountain locations, maybe just creeping into portions of Mountain Home as far as some gusty winds and a little bit of cloud cover tomorrow. Otherwise, mainly sunshine and toasty temperatures are expected for Sunday. So breaking down the next 3 days, again, tomorrow, plan on toasty temperatures warmer than today, about 85 even for Boise. We were in the mid 80s for Ontario today. Monday, even a touch warmer, about 87. Record high is actually 94. So we're not going to be record warm on Monday, but very warm out there. In fact, toasty warm. And on Tuesday, still in the 80s, but we just start to drop about 81. Mostly sunny skies, a little breezy over the next couple of days as well.
Thank you, Nate. Well, the longest legislative session in Idaho history is over. It ended this past week after a record 122 days. But is it really over? Senators thought so. They adjourned sine die, meaning that it's session closed. But House members voted to recess, meaning their leadership could call them back into session at any time for the remainder of the year. And apparently, if they come back, then senators have to come back too.
What we have done is we've kept our foot in the door in case of the unforeseen this summer. And so it maintains our checks and balance system. I don't anticipate that our putting anything into effect unless there's another big chunk of federal money, and we're talking a large chunk.
And a big chunk of money is on the way. It comes from the latest $1.9 trillion federal COVID relief package. Well, initial data shows May job numbers could look a lot like April's week report. That's according to Homebase, which tracks employee time worked at around 54,000 restaurants and businesses. Homebase says data through May 9th shows that hiring was stalled. A separate time management firm, UKG, which also measures shift work, says data in May shows work in manufacturing, retail, and other sectors is down. The UKG correctly foreshadowed the weak April numbers. Meanwhile, the U.S. created 266,000 jobs in April. That's far less than economists expected. But economic healing is happening, and concerns over inflation are premature. That's according to top White House economist Cecilia Rouse. She says reports from April of weak job numbers and higher prices, they represent a snapshot of a single point in time. Rouse says bumps are to be expected after an unprecedented power down of the economy, and prices are increasing now after unusual lows caused by the pandemic.
They are rebounding as the economy starts to heal, but many of those sectors are actually not even back to where they were before. So we expect there's going to be a period as supply starts to equal demand and sectors are healing and recovering, that we're going to see some, there's going to be some choppiness.
Rouse, who you heard there, says longer-term trends are showing that the economy has been steadily getting back to normal since the new year. Now, today is National Armed Forces Day, a time to pay tribute to America's military personnel. Now, there are more than 1.3 million active duty service members in the Army, Air Force, Space Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps. To celebrate Armed Forces Day, consider writing or calling a service member or sending a care package to them or their family members. Well, still to come on CBS 2 News, authorities fearing what looks to be the worst water crisis in generations at a neighboring state border. Plus, later, there's growing concern about the future of healthcare in Idaho. CBS 2's Krista McPeak investigates what's working and what could soon be available for patients.
CBS 2 News.
Idahoans, first of all, are fiercely independent. They value their health, but they also are not willing to spend money on things they don't quite understand, or they like their freedoms and their choice.
There's growing concern about the future of healthcare in Idaho, and CBS 2's Krista McPeak found out what's working and what could soon be available for patients.
When it comes to healthcare, Idaho is unique. One of our strengths is that we have a menu of options when it comes to healthcare, but there's still some work that needs to be done.
I'm an Idahoan too, so I like the idea of give me the information. Let me govern myself. Let me choose my own path.
Dean Cameron is the director of the Idaho Department of Insurance. The department ensures insurance providers keep their promises. Cameron says they also focus on making healthcare affordable.
It's still not where we want it to be. Prior to the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Idaho boasted the lowest rates in the nation. And then after the ACA, our rates significantly increased because of the mandates and other issues that were imposed with the ACA.
He says moving forward, states, they need to get creative.
Let the states innovate and decide what's best for them, rather than, what works in New York won't work with what we need here.
Cameron says when it comes to serving Idahoans, price transparency in medical care is important. Now there's also telehealth. This is something doctors say will help keep costs low. It's something that was brought up in this 90-page report. It was written by a bipartisan task force aimed at helping improve healthcare across the United States. Idaho Representative Rick Youngblood is just one of many lawmakers from across the country who contributed to these findings. He serves as a co-chair on the Joint Finance Appropriations Committee. The report, it highlights needed improvements. These suggestions include improving broadband for telehealth services, encouraging electronic health records, and policy to address rural healthcare challenges. And serving on the Joint Finance Appropriations Committee, Representative Youngblood says that a combination of these policies will help with costs.
The largest for me personally is seeing that those things are in place and functioning well so that it drives the cost of, the state's funds down.
To keep costs down, many health professionals are turning to a new framework.
What does Idaho need to do better to improve paying for healthcare or healthcare costs and healthcare in general?
Again, value-based care. That's the answer in my opinion.
Value-based healthcare, a new approach more people are talking about. It means providers are paid based on the quality of care they provide rather than the number of patients they see. Jenny Gudapati is the director for the new value-based healthcare program at Boise State University. Growing up and raising her family in Idaho, she's worked in hospitals as a nurse and sees value-based healthcare as a growing need.
There's those people that the only health care they had was when they would come and see us in the emergency room. And so what typically could be done in a doctor's office, we would take care of in the emergency room.
Gudapati says value-based healthcare will help solve these problems.
It will allow their physicians to get reimbursed for creating wellness programs, better looking at preventative screening, looking at preventative medicine, where in the past there was no reimbursement for that. The only way physicians got paid is when people were sick. You'd go to their office, you'd go to the emergency room, and it was basically line item charges that they would then get reimbursed for.
Gudapati says this new program at Boise State will help Idahoans in the long run.
It's probably the most exciting time. I think it's more exciting to be in healthcare now than when I started my nursing program so many years ago.
Idaho Governor Brad Little hopes that 50% of healthcare payment contracts will be value-based by 2023. In Boise, Krista McPeak, CBS 2 News.
The water crisis along the California-Oregon border, it appears to be going from critical to catastrophic. Authorities fear it's shaping up to be the worst water crisis in generations. The entire region is in extreme or exceptional drought, according to federal monitoring reports. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation says it will not release water into a canal that feeds the Klamath Reclamation Project, a first for the 114-year-old irrigation system. It will shut off water to farmers, and it will also affect endangered coho salmon and half a dozen wildlife refuges. Speaking of salmon, and starting on Monday, the Boise River will be coming up. Flows out of the Lucky Peak Dam will be increased over 3 days, and the level will be maintained through midsummer. The additional water is meant for the Snake and Columbia rivers to help with salmon migration. And just remember that faster, deeper, and colder water in the Boise River can be dangerous.
Yeah, looking at the drought monitor, things are looking pretty nasty as far as exceptional and extreme drought conditions for a lot of the Southwest, even creeping into, again, a lot of central and southwestern portions of Oregon, Northern California, areas that we're talking about. We are unfortunately also experiencing some drought conditions here in the Gem State as well. We are looking at abnormally dry, if not moderate drought conditions for much of the state. Even some pockets of severe and extreme drought conditions, mainly in the south central portion of Idaho's mountain areas, portions of Blaine and Custer County. So all of us could really use some rain, some precipitation. We have seen a few showers out there today, and we're expecting to see a little bit more tomorrow, mainly southeast of Boise. So here's where the moisture is going to be. This is fast forwarding for the next 5 to 7 days. We'll run this rain model through. This is just one particular model's estimates on what we can expect to see. This is Tuesday morning. We're expecting some showers around us. Not a whole lot of moisture, unfortunately. Notice the Wasatch Front, only another 1/10 of an inch or so is expected. But then as we get into the latter half of next week, all of us should see some precipitation. In fact, notice the estimates around the southwest portion of Idaho and eastern Oregon. Some of the mountainous areas, if not the plateau and central portions of Oregon, should see a decent amount, but only about 1/10 of an inch or so for the Boise area. All right, so moving on from chances of moisture later in the week, we do have a little bit of wind that we've been dealing with throughout the evening, a little bit breezy as far as the lower Treasure Valley. Tomorrow should be a pretty nice day overall. It's just toasty warm. We could see some blustery winds, mainly southeast of Mountain Home and portions of the Magic Valley and along the Idaho-Nevada border, as we're still seeing a little bit of moisture creep up from the south. This is tomorrow afternoon into the evening, so some of those gusty winds could move up if we do get some outflow boundaries from thunderstorms that form across portions of southern Idaho. Not expecting, again, thunderstorms here in Boise or a lot of the Treasure Valley, but we could see, again, some gusts of wind. What we can expect then, isolated mountain storms likely continuing with these toasty temperatures that we're seeing continuing into the work week, even through about Tuesday. Pattern change arrives next week. In fact, it could feel a little bit more like March than May as we get into Wednesday, Thursday. Look at the temperatures taking a nosedive. So from mid to upper 80s Sunday, Monday. Tuesday still 81, down into the low 60s by Thursday. Reason being, we're going to stay warm, of course, high pressure staying in place through about midweek. And then here comes this trough out of the Gulf of Alaska, packing with it some cold air. And it's going to make, again, us feel like more early springtime than towards the latter half of spring. Best chance of moisture, again, will be a chance of some isolated to scattered storms along a front Wednesday. Better chance of some scattered showers Thursday, lingering into Friday. Cooler air sticking around even into the first part of the weekend, just low 60s on Saturday. Mountain areas, mid 70s, comfortable today, tomorrow and Monday. 68 on Tuesday. There's that chance of thunderstorms Wednesday. Temperatures could be cold enough. Look at that, just upper 40s for highs Thursday, Friday. Could see some snow showers down to about 5,000 feet on Thursday morning. We'll be tracking that with possible showers lingering into Saturday as well.
Thank you, Nate. Well, CBS 2 and 670 KBOI, we're coming together to help our community. Many people need basic hygiene items, and we're hosting a drive this coming Wednesday at the Salvation Army. We'll be collecting items from 5 a.m. until 6 p.m., and you can make donations at the Salvation Army along West Emerald Street in Boise. These items will be distributed throughout the Treasure Valley to those in need. And here's a look at some of the items the Salvation Army needs: shampoo, conditioner, soap, body wash, toothpaste, toothbrushes, mouthwash, and dental floss. We hope to see you on Wednesday.
Coming up this week on Full Measure, during the COVID-19 shutdowns, authorities say there's been an uptick in child abuse and child trafficking in the U.S., stretching from the poorest neighborhoods to the rich and famous. We investigate this dark American scandal. Tensions are high on Russia's border with Ukraine, and it's gotten the rest of the world's attention. What's really going on and why we should care. And the coronavirus pandemic highlighted the need for life-saving medical equipment, but when those vital machines break, there's a challenge to getting them fixed that you probably know little about. The right to repair and what it costs in terms of time and lives. All that coming up this week on Full Measure.
And you can watch Full Measure with Cheryl Atkinson every Sunday at 10:30 p.m. right here on CBS 2. Still to come on CBS 2, one local teacher showing our students the value of agriculture and how it's blooming into an innovative, hands-on program.
Is sponsored by CapEd Credit Union.
Just 1 month ago, we brought you the story of a local teacher educating through agriculture. Well, her students aren't done learning yet, and they're helping ensure that this program continues to blossom. In this week's Leaders in Learning, we take you back to Mountain Home High, where they're enjoying the fruits of their labor. Here at Mountain Home High School, former student, now ag teacher, Kaya Vines Bidiganetta has built their agriculture program from the ground up, making this greenhouse a place of hands-on learning for all. Most recently, her students were able to sell the fruits of their labor at the program's annual plant sale.
So I knew that people really wanted to support us, but I didn't know that we would have a huge line at 3:30 ready to go. It was really cool to see. At one point, we had 50 people in line.
These over 300 hanging petunias and various vegetables from tomatoes to peppers, even succulents, for all types of garden fanatics. All grown and put up for sale by the Mountain Home Agricultural Science class you see here.
It's very important for my students to be able to see start to finish. And not only, like you said, do they learn about germination and plant care, but they also get to learn the marketing aspect and how to market their product to the community. And there is so much buy-in from my students when they know, like, these are their plants and they are going to sell them to make money for our program. This was our project, not just mine. Like, these kids loved the program, loved learning everything in the class, and they finally got to show the entire community everything that they have worked so hard on all semester.
This class began in January, starting from just seeds. Students participated in every aspect, from the germination process, planting, and then transplanting to larger pots, and now selling them at their annual plant sale. A success that allows this program to continue to blossom.
Teaching them in a classroom is very important, but sometimes it's hard to know if they can actually take and apply that later. But with this class, we were able to learn in the classroom and then walk out into the greenhouse, and they were actually able to do it. And once a student is able to actually do something with their hands and then they help each other and teach each other, I know that they know how to do that. And a year from now, when it's time for them to plant their own gardens or help their parents, they know how to do that.
All proceeds from selling these plants will now go directly back into the agriculture program for next year.
I would just like to shout out to the community for showing up in numbers, standing in line on our first hot day to support these kids and show your appreciation. We are so thankful, and we cannot wait to do it again next year. This will be an annual thing. We were able to raise enough money to cover our costs from last year, and we're going to be able to buy different varieties of plants for next year to grow and make it even more memorable. And 1,000 thanks to everyone that came out and supported us.
After a year of struggling through the pandemic, the Idaho Fudge Company is reinventing itself. CBS 2's Trevor Fay found out how they're making the business work and how they plan to bounce back.
Meet Brooke Lyons, owner of the Idaho Fudge Company. We first checked in with her a year ago during the height of the pandemic. Her shop has had a rough road during COVID.
We weren't able to go to events, and so getting word out about us absolutely came to a crawl, if not a stop.
But now that Idaho's reopening, so is her business, with a new storefront in Marsing.
Since the move to Marsing, our concept for Idaho Fudge Company has changed just a little bit. We're still primarily a fudge company, But we have added a few things. We do our in-house chocolating, we do truffles, and we chocolate dip almost everything.
Brooke runs the Idaho Fudge Company with her son, and they've got new services to go along with their new location, all focused around supporting Idaho businesses.
We bring in as many outside businesses as we can that are Idaho related. So we are still looking for Idaho businesses to come in. We've only been in here since December.
Although the future is uncertain, Brooke has high hopes that sweeter times are ahead. In Marsing, Trevor Fay, CBS 2 News.
At 4 of its pools, but you'll need to buy a season pass and reserve a time before you can dive in. Well, your local news and weather coverage, they continue overnight on idahonews.com. We'll see you tomorrow for CBS 2 News at 5:30. Between now and then, have a great night.